welcome to another explainer. For the longest time, the whole narrative around digital security has been super focused on massive headline-grabbing corporate data breaches. But today, we're unpacking the actual reality for small and medium-sized enterprises. And let me tell you, the data paints a very different picture. We're going to break down exactly where the vulnerabilities lie, and more importantly, map out a practical path forward for you.
So it really all starts with this one question. Is your business ready for a cyber attack? For years, smaller businesses have operated on this mindset of, well, we're too small to be a target. But the landscape has completely shifted. Attackers are using AI and automated tools now. They aren't just hunting big game anymore. They're actively looking for the easiest of vulnerabilities. We literally have to flip our mindset. Small businesses are prime targets, precisely because they often have lighter defenses. And this number right here, this is the ultimate wake-up call, 78%. Let that sink in. A staggering 78% of surveyed small and medium businesses fall into the low or very low cyber resilience categories. That means the vast majority of small businesses operating today are critically underprepared to withstand or even recover from a digital attack. The gap between the threats that exist and the defenses we actually have in place is just massive. Let's dive into the landscape and look at the actual numbers for a second. The financial reality is brutal. The average cost of a data breach in the US has shot up to over $10 million, with the global average sitting around $4.44 million. But it's not just the immediate financial hit. There's a massive regulatory urgency now, too. New frameworks, like the EU's Cyber Resilience Act, mean failing to secure your systems can lead to massive penalties. True resilience isn't just an IT goal anymore. It's absolutely crucial for business survival. Okay, let's get into the specifics. Section 1, Human Errors and Access. Honestly, think of this as the front door to your business. Because you can have all the fancy software in the world, but 60% of all initial cyber intrusions in the EU start with one simple tactic: phishing. Hackers aren't necessarily writing complex code to break through your firewall. They're just sending a deceptive email and banking on someone clicking a link. It's the most common type of attack out there. Human awareness is your literal first line of defense. But as we see here, that front line is severely undersupported. 40% of small businesses have never, and I mean never, provided cybersecurity training to their staff. None. And when you combine that lack of awareness with incredibly weak access controls, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Only 39% of these businesses use multi-factor authentication on critical apps, and just 38% enforce minimum password lengths. Plus, there's a huge lack of structured privileged access management, meaning the admin accounts, the ones holding the keys to the kingdom, are barely protected. All right, moving on to Section 2, Technology and Blind Spots. Let's look at what happens once an attacker actually gets past that human element. The reality is, businesses have massive blind spots when it comes to their own tech. 75% of SMEs lack an up-to-date hardware inventory, and 74% fail to even track their software. If you don't know what devices are on your network, you absolutely cannot secure them. Couple that massive visibility gap with the fact that roughly 63% of businesses do not have automatic software updates enabled, and you're leaving your network littered with invisible, unpatched holes. Oh, and only 51% even ensure their antivirus is fully enabled across all devices. And why does failing to update software matter so much? Because of this number right here. We've seen a 34% year-on-year increase in vulnerability exploitation. Hackers are constantly scanning the internet for known flaws. When software companies release a patch, it's to fix those exact flaws. By ignoring automatic updates, you're just leaving the door wide open to threats that literally already have a fix. But, technology generally fails when governance fails. 63% of businesses rely solely on the owner for security, usually without any dedicated expertise. And 11% completely lack clarity on who is even responsible for security. It just becomes an afterthought. And then there's the supply chain risk. 30% of breaches now involve third-party components, a number that doubled in a single year. You aren't just responsible for your own systems anymore. You're vulnerable to every single vendor you plug into. Which brings us to Section 3, Planning for the Inevitable. Because honestly, no defense is 100% perfect. So we have to shift the narrative and ask, what happens when the defenses fail? If a ransomware group locks down your servers tomorrow, how does your business actually operate? Alarmingly, 86% of small businesses are operating right now without a tested business continuity plan. That is the very core of operational resilience, and for most, it's just missing. When we look at the adoption rates for critical emergency safety nets, they are shockingly low. Only 22% of SMEs have a formal cyber incident response plan. Think about remote work. Only 24% of remote workers are using a virtual private network or VPN to secure their connection. And maybe the scariest part, only 26% have automated data backup processes. When a breach happens, it's just pure chaos because there's no plan. And the data recovery situation, it's even more sobering. Even among the few businesses that do back up their data, 77% lack what are called immutable backups. Those are the backups that cannot be altered or deleted by a hacker, which is exactly what you need to survive ransomware. Plus, 83% of SMEs leave their vital cloud data at risk, just assuming the cloud provider backs it all up automatically. Spoiler alert, they usually don't. And of the folks who are backing up, only 32% bother to test those backups more than once a year. Okay, let's pivot to Section 4, Building True Cyber Resilience. It's time to stop admiring the problem and focus on practical empowerment. So there is a totally crucial difference between cybersecurity and cyber resilience. Security is all about trying to build an impenetrable wall, using firewalls, antivirus, basically trying to stop the attack from ever happening. Resilience, on the other hand, accepts that the wall might eventually get breached. It's about withstanding that attack, keeping the lights on during the crisis, and recovering efficiently. You definitely need both, but resilience is what actually saves the business. So how do you build that resilience without a massive multi-million-dollar enterprise budget? You break it down into 3 highly achievable, super high-impact steps. Step 1. Enforce multi-factor authentication everywhere. Just stop attackers from using stolen passwords. Step 2. Automate your software updates so you close those known vulnerabilities without relying on someone remembering to click Update. And Step 3. Implement and test offline or immutable backups. If you do nothing else, these 3 steps will exponentially increase your survival rate. I absolutely love this quote from Tracy Ryan at Sentinel One. Focus on progress, not perfection. We aren't trying to create military-grade security overnight here. Closing these gaps is a continuous journey. Taking small steps today, like finally turning on MFA or running a quick phishing simulation with your team, prevents those business-ending events tomorrow. We've got to ditch the doom and gloom alarmism and just focus on steady improvement. So I'm going to leave you with a final provocative thought to chew on today. Are you pouring all your energy into building an impenetrable wall that hackers will eventually just find a way around? Or are you building a resilient business that can take a hit, bounce right back, and keep serving its customers? The data shows us exactly where the vulnerabilities are. Now it's up to us to actually implement the solutions. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.